Okay, hello, welcome back everybody. We are here with part 2 of GameSense episode 8, our championship special. Welcome back. We are here with 2 new guests. We have Clinton Bollinger from 2337 to talk to us about Galileo, and Alan Gregory from 3847 to talk to us about Newton. Clinton, why don't you introduce yourself really quick for our viewers?
You said most of it. I've been with Team 2337 since the beginning in 2008. I'm the driver coach and also in charge of all the robot-related things. My wife, she's the organizational side of things and operations, and the two of us kind of run the team. We have our cute son that's a 3-year-old.
All right, thanks for joining us. Alan, why don't you introduce yourself now too?
Sure. So I started first in 2003, back on 647. So I've been in Texas first for about 12 years now. Then I spent some time with the Disco Bots, 2587. Then I moved over to what's now known as Spectrum in 2011, 2012. I've been with them for the last 3 years.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us as well. Just a quick recap of what we're going to be doing in part 2. It's going to be very similar to part 1 if you've watched that already. We're going to start off with looking back at the season, and then we will discuss Newton. Then we're going to, instead of a Q&A, which we did in the first part, we're going to talk about Einstein and what kind of play style we expect to see on Einstein this year. Then we're going to talk a little bit about Galileo, and then we have a few special announcements about future things coming for GameSense. So with that, let's talk some more about championships. I believe we have Evan starting us off with looking back at the 2014 season.
Sweet. Well, that works out well because I was running around last time when we were talking about this. I think the season was well. I think it's turning out better than I initially expected. I definitely didn't really like the game when it first came out. It's grown on me. So I'm happy to say that when the game plays right, when you've got all 3 watch, and I think a lot of people take issue to when it's not so coordinated, and it's just, it can get ugly at times with the defense. It can get really confusing to keep track of things, and there were a lot of referee problems at the beginning, but I think they've fixed most of those. I know at championships they're going to have a lot more referees on the field to help with that, and I'm really excited. I think it's gonna be fun. Anybody else got
I think,
stuff?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I think I'm one of the minorities in Michigan that actually like the game. I've talked with multiple people at the Michigan State Championship, and a lot of people don't like it. The best way I describe it, and I think I've been saying since the beginning, I love the core of the game. The core of the game, the assisting, shooting the balls over the truss into the high goal, low goal, actually, bring the different game pieces into the robot is always, a nice sight to see for spectators. It's really fun to play behind the glass in terms of strategy. There's different things that you can mix up to be able to win the matches. So I really like it. The penalties and the reffing and some of the calls aren't the greatest, but we all pay the same registration fee, and we gotta live with those. In my opinion, in the off season, I could see other events like IRI maybe reducing the penalties to maybe like a 30-10 or something like that.
Yeah, actually, I have a friend who's going to be a referee at the championship, a couple, but specifically he mentioned that each field's going to have 10 referees, which they'll rotate through and have 8 playing at a time, 8 refereeing at a time. So that should be hopefully fix that particular issue. But
so something that actually I think was happening at MSC, I never got official confirmation. I think at MSC they actually had a referee who was referee that reffed at one of the district events, who was sitting on the sideline and actually counting assists to ensure that the assists were counted properly and recorded into the system. Now that was never official, so it's kind of one of those checks and balances that I actually hope and wish that they do at the championship.
yeah, that would be interesting. That's not first protocol, so that'd be interesting if that was the case.
But it's
like I said, it was
the,
never official. I don't think it was supposed to be official, but it just seemed like they were doing a really. They missed assists at the beginning, but as the qualifications went on, it seems like they were getting better to the point where they would come to certain teams and say like, hey, just want to let you know you got all those assists. It didn't show at the end of the match, but we added them after the match.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely one of people's biggest beefs throughout the season, all the way up until district championships, is the missed assists. Not just missed calls, but missed scores. And so I don't know if they've got something in place at championships, but I expect certainly the crew of 8 referees is going to help out with that a lot. Did we say 8 or 10?
Well, my friends told me that it's going to be 8 at a time, 10 on a
8
field.
active.
Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see when we get there, right? So, it
should help.
Yeah, I'm glad that the game has changed as it has over the course of the season. Like Evan, when I saw the game, I really didn't like it very much, and as it played out, I feared that my suspicions were confirmed. And the game is still not my favorite game. I'll give you that much. But we'll see what the championship brings, and I think everything turned out better than expected, at least as far as I'm concerned.
Better than lunacy.
Well, give you that much.
Hey, I don't know. Lunacy turned out pretty well for me. World champs, baby. Woo!
Alan, what about you? What do you and your friends think?
I actually definitely like this game. I'm with Clinton. Week 1 was rough for a lot of teams and a lot of robots, but the whole season has been iteration for First and for all the teams' robot strategies. You've seen it develop. It's gotten much, much better. I don't like that a reffing crew can kind of turn the game on its head. It happened at a few events where they're calling stuff really strictly or not calling anything at all. But if all the champs refs are excellent people, so I don't think we'll have much of a problem this week coming up. And it's very, very cool to see all the different robot developments that are happening. 148 and people have just been massive iterations, and a lot of teams have to get much, much better throughout the year.
Yeah.
I am gonna have to disagree because I didn't like the game in the beginning, and I still don't like it. I don't know. I just
Ooh.
yes, the matches and eliminations are more exciting than I expected. I will give you that, but I don't like that it is so match schedule dependent, like for who your top 8 is. Like it really, maybe it's especially for our team this year, but if you have a really good robot and you have 2 partners that can't help you and get assists with you, you can't seed in the top 8 because you can't win your matches, and that's rough.
You haven't had too much of that issue in Texas. The top 3 or 4 at almost every event have been the top 3 or 4. I mean, there's always a few that have problems here and there, but they've kept it pretty clean for all of our events.
But you even have the opposite in Michigan, where the Michigan State Championship, it was not a flip of the coin, but I mean matches could easily have went either way, and you had everyone that could play the matches, can inbound, could truss, could finish into the high goal, low goal. It kind of seemed like a lot of the matches were lost because you missed that one shot that you went high, and you went high again instead of putting in that low goal. Mm-hmm. So I think you see it at both levels of where you don't have a lot of competitors and where you have a very competitive event.
That's also something I think at this point we can definitely say people would underestimate it was the low goal. I think that the difference 1 to 10 points is huge, and when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that thing's never going to get used.
Nobody's ever going to use the low goal.
And lo and behold, my team won a district because of the low goal. So, yeah.
That is one of the things that I think they really did right this year. Both goals are utilized heavily at all levels of play. And that's something that we really haven't seen before. Even, the last time I can remember was maybe 2006, when you could still do a bit of a low goal. 195 was on Einstein with a low goal robot, but they were primarily there as an assist robot, not so much support. So I like that about this game. There's some things I agree with Stephanie. There's a lot of things that I don't like. I still don't like about this game, but I really like the fact that they balanced it, and the teams that picked up on that early did very, very well.
I also missed the end game.
Yeah,
I don't think that much actually. Look at the last-second crushes, last-second goals. It's just like a real basketball game.
Did I just hear you say the end game is penalties?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's the secret end game. We didn't know it, but it was a secret all along.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I think it's about time we move on to talk about Newton. Alan, why don't you start us off talking about the new kids on the block?
Absolutely. So Newton is the other stacked division. Everyone's talking about Curry, but Newton is clearly stacked. Many of the people here are associated with teams on Newton. But we do have four of the more recent powerhouse teams, all above 1,500. 1986, Titanium, if 2056 still didn't have their regional streak, everyone will be talking about Titanium's regional streak. I think it's in double digits now, or very close. 1983, don't have to mention too much about you guys winning Pacific Northwest title this year. 1678. This team has 4 losses on the year. 3 of them are to 971. Fighting Bulldogs as well. One of the best 3-ball autos, the best one in Michigan. Really close range shooter. Probably the best team that hasn't won an event so far. But without just those teams, we also have, we're another division that's 8 of the top 25 teams out of looking forward to this year. 971 being the number 2 team. Their robot Mammoth, everyone, obviously great video, great reveal. Everyone loves that robot. Haven't got to see it in person yet. I'm very excited to get up there in 2 days to see it. Like, fastest intake, the fact that they can actually grab a ball out of the air is just amazing. I have no idea how they're pulling that off. Simbots, 11-14, every single year they bring something good. They had some struggles. Everyone noticed when they went out in the semifinals of their first 2 events. They turned it around and did what everyone expected them to do and wins their Essex with 2056. 16, Baxter Bomb Squad, had a killer season this year. Auto, amazing swerve. They have that thing absolutely running smoothly as ever. 368, we get another basically almost identical robot to 16. Everything they can do just as well. Rolled through the Hawaii regional with the Hawaiian kids, didn't have much of a problem at all. Went to SVR and played exceptionally well, ended up losing to 971. 610, another of the Canadian power teams. Great shooter, really cool intake, many different actuations and stuff they're able to do.
Yeah, I wanna highlight 16 out of this group, and 368, but especially 16. This was when I saw the game. I knew it was gonna be Bomb Squad with a swerve, and they were going to look phenomenal. And they didn't disappoint. And I think it was a little bit of a surprise when 368 also came out with almost a fraternal twin, and they had a monster swerve on that robot too. Both of them, I think they're playing together in a qualification match. I don't remember which one it is, but check on Delphi. I know somebody posted up there. Don't miss that match because you're going to see 2 of the best swerve drives in all of first, just tooling all over the field. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Actually, I hate to go back to something we talked about a few seconds ago, but I actually want to talk about 11-14 because I think if you saw the game and went blindly into the season, one would immediately just think, oh, 11-14 going to build by far the best robot this year because they built the world champion robot in 2008. And this year they've had their share of struggles. You know, they've only won regional, but still very, very good. But I'm interested to see what you guys think about sort of like how they've sort of panned out this year.
I guess I'll take that one. It'll be interesting to see. 11-14 traditionally has done well at the championship level, but not as well as people usually expect. And a good portion of that is some bad luck. In 2011, they got picked first by 1771, who is a great team, but they just weren't strong enough to go up against some of the other really power divisions or power alliances in that division. 2012 they made it to Einstein, and we had the 2012 Einstein issues, so really didn't get a chance to see what they were capable of. But last year they had that phenomenal climber and had a breakdown in semis and went out. But I think I think it's interesting that they had struggles on the regional level this year. I think some of it is due to some robot design problems that they were working out. I know when we talked to Karthik on our show earlier in the season, he was talking about some of the control issues that they were having and a lot of other things. But I expect them to come out as strong as always at championships. This is a team that does not stop improving. And if you think for a second that they're weaker than usual, you're going to get knocked out by them. So, they're a great team. They've got a great robot, probably the best intake in first, and I think that they're going to be in the finals, at least.
Interesting. So I think that we can all agree that this division's got at least from my look at it, the top is not necessarily as high as say like Curie, but goes much further down. What about what's going to be like their third picks? I know that Alan, you looked up some information about that.
Absolutely. So this is just in general how championship is going to change compared to all the regional levels. Just from the Newton pre-scouting data that people have been voluntarily putting out, there are 37 teams in this division who claim to have a two-ball auto. There are 22 who claim to have more than 4 sims on their drivetrain. You're going to be seeing extremely intense defense. You're going to be seeing a lot more teams making all their auto balls. That might free up teams to be able to play goalie. Now that we have people putting in multiple auto balls, 2 and 3 at a time. So we're going to be seeing a much, much deeper back end where you have not just inbounders anymore. You have people who can really play the game.
Yeah, that's a little scary. I mean, you're talking 32 teams make it into the eliminations, and theoretically every single one of them could have a 2-ball auto in their back pocket, including the entire fourth, selection.
Not that they're all as accurate as others, but
right. But
somebody they put in the code to do it.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I'd be curious to compare some of the Tom in the first part mentioned how many regionals teams had won going into championships this year. I'd be curious to compare. It feels like maybe the middle tier, so to say, is a little deeper here on Newton than over on Curie.
Yeah.
I'm curious if the regional wins actually reflects that.
I know.
Teams that you mentioned, I managed to not mention teams like 330, the Beach Bots, who have won San Diego and have played like one of the most unique robots of the year. I don't know how they keep winning because the robot doesn't make sense to me. But
do that every year.
They keep doing.
It's hard for the course for them, but it's still great.
4039, who one seeded at Waterloo on top of 254, 1114, and 2056. I mean, we have teams that are astonishing, and they weren't even in my first list.
Yeah.
Yeah. 910 went to 5 events this year. They won 2 of them, including
Buckeye. Don't ignore 314. Everyone did at States, and they were steel. They were amazing steel for the the second pick, third robot at MSC. They played awesome.
They won 2 districts, finalists at their third one, and then MSG champs, right? And and I've been talking about them all season. As when I saw their first promo video of the prototype, and I mean that's honestly somebody is going to get them in the third round if they don't end up seeding, because I think there's just so many good teams here. People are going to go maybe a little bit too much on number recognition, and somebody's going to steal them, and there's a high seed going out because they got into the third round.
314 has a nice, strong trust shot, can make it to the human player. Their inbound is very nice. They can kiss pass. They can finish the shot when they need to. They have a fast drivetrain, a strong drivetrain. They got everything that you need to have on your lines.
It's gonna be insane. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the statistics. OPR. I'm not totally on board with OPR being a particularly good predictor this year because it doesn't reflect the different roles that teams play. But if you look at the OPR numbers, I think Newton ends up actually being the strongest by a very narrow margin on both average OPR for the entire division and average OPR of the top 8 teams. So we're talking, this is no slouch. And a lot of it is those new teams, the up-and-comers, especially 1678. I mean, since 2011, they haven't stopped. They just keep winning. 3 regionals this year, 3 trips to finals, 2 wins after coming off of a Curie victory last year. They're certainly in the mix for being number 1 on the division or first pick.
Yep, absolutely. Which is going to play. I think this is all going to really. I think that if there's a division where the 4th pick's going to come into play, this might be it, because there's going to be a lot of real quality robots left over after you're done your top 24. there are going to be people that you want to put in or want to have on your roster just in case as a fill-in, as a spare bot. Not even role players, people that can play multiple roles.
Yeah.
We went through and did a little bit of a mock draft type thing, and it's hard deciding in those 32 to 36 teams. I mean, you can easily get 36, 40 teams who should be playing in elims.
Oh yeah, completely.
I'd be curious to see if that translates to seeing more role swapping, or if we're going to be like finisher heavy in Newton.
I really don't think we're that finisher heavy, to be honest.
We don't have a lot of power forwards at all in Newton. I mean, 971 is the cream of the crop, but and Hots are in other divisions.
I mean, like even 11-14, they've specialized in the truss role in eliminations. They can finish; they're a very good finisher, but they've been playing the truss role primarily in eliminations at their regionals, and I think that's probably their strong suit there. So it'll be interesting to see if they end up taking that forward role, or if they stick to what they know best.
The finishers that we do have are a lot of the sharpshooters like 16 and 368 who are finishing. Not really the ones that are getting to the low goal and laying it up.
Yeah.
Although 35-39 is one of those low goals, lay it up. Although they seemed tippy at their competitions, or did I just see like an unfortunate match or two?
There was one match where they got flipped over on their side. It might have been coming from a drivetrain that was just pushing way too hard and tipped them over. But the nice thing about 35-39, they get in that position, they shoot, they score, they don't miss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are by far one of the most accurate teams in the entire country, entire world.
I don't think they missed an entire ball like Saturday at MSC or something along those lines.
Well, what? They got to shoot it like 8 inches, so I guess it's not that hard.
All right. Any last comments before we move on to our next topic of the evening? No? All right. I will note, before we move on, that we're calling this the GameSense division. All of us except Ty our teams will be playing on Newton. So if you are at the championships and want to come say hi to us, Newton's a good place to find
to
most
Archimedes.
of us. Or you can go hang out with Ty on Archimedes.
Yeah. I would like to thank the division-picking gods at HQ for putting both of my teams in the same division. It makes my life so much easier.
Yes. All right. Well, I think it's about time to move on to talk about Einstein, even though we haven't talked about all the divisions yet. And we're not looking to talk about robots particularly here, but what kind of play style do we think is going to be happening on Einstein? Are we going to see more of the just stick it in the low goal because you got to put the ball in the hole, get the points strategy, or are we going to see the sniping under heavy defense strategy? I don't know. I can't decide.
Yeah, I think that the first thing you're going to see is that you'll hope, like, maybe this is just a pipe dream, but everything's a pipe dream when we're talking about Einstein at this point. I think you're going to see a lot of the defined roles we've seen over the season break down. I think you're going to see you're definitely, like, I think the best alliances are not going to have tunnel bots. The best alliances are not going to have somebody that just goes 1 to 2 to 3. You're going to see robots playing in areas and playing opportunistically to try to get the ball downfield as quickly as possible. And I think because of that, you're going to see a lot of defense really start to crop up at not only the championship, but also at the especially on Einstein. Clint, you probably have a lot more to talk about this because you went to Mini Einstein, aka the Michigan State Championship. And I know at the New England State Championship, the scores were actually, I mean, in the finals we had some broken robots, but the scores were lower than I would have guessed. Clint, what do you think?
I think MSC is going to play very similar to Einstein's going to play similar to MSC. It was a lot of different things going on. I think you're going to see 3 assists try to happen each time. I think if any teams are trying to ignore that third assist, they're going to get beat, and they probably won't make it to Einstein. You're going to see a truss every time, and then you're going to see heavy defense when you're not doing your role of trussing, catching, or passing, or finishing the ball. The things that are going to lose, I think, on Einstein is missing that high shot when it was clutch and you needed to put that in. And the things that are going to see you win is if you see you're up by 50, 60 points, maybe 100 points early on, you shut the ball down and you go into a lockdown defense. I feel like that's what happened to us in semifinals too. The Bees, 27 and 314. They got a nice lead on us after Auton. Put a couple cycles in, and they just locked us down, and there was nothing we could do to come back from them.
Yeah, I want to go off of also what Francis said about the multi-role, and I think we did see some of this at MSC, but flexibility on an alliance here is going to be king. Being able to have multiple robots that can play multiple roles, especially at the inbounder, it's traditionally been one of the weaker positions. It's typically your third pick. At a lot of the weaker events, they literally just had him sit in the corner. Sit in the spot, take the inbound, don't move. At MSC, at the other district championships, we saw them coming out playing some defense, but it's typically not a team that's particularly good at trussing or finishing or anything. They're going to take the ball, they're going to hand it off, and they're going to go. I think you're going to see teams that can truss taking the inbound and passing it off to another team that could also truss and take the inbound. And that role is going to switch off as defense sees fit. Similar thing with finishing. That role is going to switch off as defense sees fit.
And I really think that your second assist, if you will, you're gonna see that coming after the truss rather than before the truss. I really see that happening. You saw it a lot at MSC. A lot of the alliances were playing that way.
The defensive strategies on Einstein are going to be much closer to where MSC, where you have 27 and 33 switching off on defense basically fluidly. There was never not a bumper on high. Like, they kept one there constantly, and that is how they won. And you'll see a lot more of that with all three teams now that you have the third team's going to be better than they are even at MSC. Not the 314 wasn't good. They were phenomenal. That's why they won.
Yeah, and that three robot strategy and that three robot coordination is going to be king. And to go along with a little bit of our discussion earlier about the four team alliances, you do get a super coach, so to speak. You get a 13th member behind the driver's station from your fourth team every match. And I'm curious to see if any teams utilize that position as sort of a master coordinator, or if they're going to stick with their just regular three drive coaches running. What do you guys think? Do you think we're going to see some of that?
I guess my quick opinion would be scorekeeper. It sounds like a trivial thing, but knowing if we talked about it early on in our strategy talks of having the human player behind the glass basically say offensive, defensive. So if you're up by, say, 30 points, you're in a defensive mode where you try to minimize the truss and try to increase assist. And if you're in offensive mode, you got to go for the truss, you got to go for the high goal because you got to catch up. So I think that fourth alliance captain could actually make sure you're keeping track of where you are in the match with the real-time scoring, especially with the screen behind the glass this year, which has been great.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head. Especially one of my biggest pet peeves of all time. Most teams right now have a set cycle: inbounder, truss, however it may be, and they'll just do it over and over and over again until you get 400 points or whatever. But that also means that when there's 7 seconds left, the inbound robot is there, and the human player says, "Aha, ball, inbound, robot, woo!" When really, that ball should be going to the trust robot to get your last second trust. And I can't, every time I see it, I just go, ugh. So hopefully one of those 4 people will be the one making the call to send it to the right robot.
Well, but at the same token, I think that at championship level, at Einstein level, you're going to have all 3 robots, at least with the ability to trust. So you don't care which robot that goes into. Whichever one can get the ball, gets the ball, goes over the truss, get the points.
The other thing that's going to happen on Einstein Championship in general is you get much smarter human players. I was the drive coach for my team, and a lot of my time was spent coaching the other human players, where hopefully I'll be able to actually coach my robot, and human players will know what they're doing the whole time.
Yeah, so we have one driver that controls our entire robot, which kind of allows our other driver to be the coach for him and tell him how to run the robot, so to speak. I mean, he knows how to run the robot, don't worry about that. But what that kind of frees me up to do, or has been freeing up me to do when we go, is to be that overarching coach, so to speak. And I don't boss the teams around, but I do suggest where teams to go and say how much time we have and try and orchestrate things. And I've noticed that the matches in which I get a chance to do that go much, much smoother than the matches where 3 robots just try to do their plan from before. So I think if you can get a 4th robot with a coach that's intelligent enough to understand how the other 3 robots should work together, then that can be a huge advantage.
For those of you who didn't see it, the video that came between these 2 segments had Ty on the mic. And you can actually, now that you say that, Ty, I can totally see it from what I heard you say. And it actually really helped your alliance a lot in that match.
Oh, thank you.
And I think it reaffirms the fact that you were very polite, too.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Most polite drive coach ever. I think with that, is there any last comments about Einstein? Any bold predictions you want to make before we move on?
Oh, I think that the bold prediction I will make, in all seriousness, I know we joke about it, I really do think that the Bobcats have the potential to be an Einstein team this year. Not only because their robot does well, but because I can seeing them at the New England District Championships, they weren't playing to win the district championship, even though they did. I think that they were playing to get ready for Einstein.
Everything else is just practice for them,
Yeah. Hey,
I have a bold prediction as well. I think that one of the teams on Einstein will have a goalie pole. It may not be used on Einstein, but one of them will have it.
Have it.
Are you including the 4th robot or only robots that touch the Einstein carpet?
Possibly one of the robots that touch the Einstein carpet. There are teams coming to championship that are very good teams that are putting on goalie poles, but will have the ability to.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Ooh.
Here's my bold prediction.
Interesting.
You will not see a match on Einstein that is defined by penalties.
Ooh, that is bold.
I hope you're right.
Bold.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
too.
Yes, I think all of our hopes are with your prediction.
I'm going to make an incredibly unbold prediction and say the team that wins it all is the team that makes the fewest mistakes. I think the alliances on but to qualify that, I think the alliances on Einstein are going to be a close enough match that it's going to come down to match execution rather than the one super alliance that everybody thinks is going to win from the beginning.
Yeah.
I really think it's going to come down to pure execution, and part of that being not making mistakes, not missing the shots that need to be made.
Well, I think that's one thing. Go ahead.
I was just going to say your alliance clicking. That is so important this season, is making sure your alliance is clicking, you're on the same page, you're moving across the field, and it just flows. That's what's going to win.
It's one thing about this game that it's one of the reasons why I say I miss the end game. Is the only way to win is to do the same thing as the other guy faster, better, more efficiently, to score the points. There's no way to catch up if you're behind other than to slow down their cycle or cycle faster than them. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting as long as we don't have the 2009 mosh pit defense.
Robots on
craziness.
ice.
Yes.
Well, at least there's a
think that'll
pinning
be
rule this year.
interesting. Yeah, so it won't be that bad, and I think that they'll definitely be good matches for sure. Whether I like the game or not, I think the matches will be good. So
Yeah, certainly.
yeah, I look forward to it. All right, I think it's time we move on to talk about Galileo. So Clint, why don't you start us off?
So some of the themes that I guess we have is that this might be one of the ones where the teams have been beat up or been to the most events. We have 100 teams in the division. The teams have attended 221 events. That means that they've played about 3,165 matches, and of those, there's been 59 event wins. So I kind of got some wonderful showpieces here, our bumpers from MSC, to kind of show people what they look like. They've seen better days. There's even some where you could actually see inside to make sure that we had pool noodles and we had no tape to make them. So
Very conscientious of you to keep that open for the inspectors.
The
Or,
window.
excuse me, of the other teams to do that for you.
yeah, the window. Yeah, they helped us out. They questioned our bumpers and they want us to get re-inspected. So they kind of hit us, nicely, not damaging at all. But yeah, no, MSC was a very brutal, competition. I don't expect anything less from the championship on any of the divisions, especially in Galileo where people played a lot of matches. We have one team that's played 5 events. We have 11 teams that have played 4 events, and there's 19 teams that have played 3 events.
Damn.
So
It's a lot of events. It's a lot of matches.
And you bring up a really good point that at this point, with the districts and teams going to multiple districts and a district championship, and sometimes even going to a week 0 event, a lot of these robots are busted up. I know that 195 in New England, they were very broken by the end of the district championship, and I know that a lot of other ones had a lot of serious issues. Do you guys think that'll actually come into play here on Galileo?
Absolutely. I would say that we've seen from the Michigan team. Sorry if I talk a lot about Michigan teams. It's just my area that I know. There's championships in the past that we've had teams that have come out of Michigan who, it's their 5th event going into the championship, and their robot has started to break down and things are breaking. I think that you could even see the same thing happening this year because it's a brutal game compared to previous years like 2012, where teams would have issues late in the game. I definitely see breakdowns being some stuff that hurts certain alliances and eliminations. You get that team, that it's their 4th event. And they haven't been, keeping over things, and their encoder breaks or their drivetrain breaks at the wrong time.
Yeah, I want to talk about a team that is not going to be at championships, I don't think. 948 NRG at Pacific Northwest. They played several events and they got to district championships, and their robot it started breaking down. They ended up having some epoxy, I think, that went bad in part of the drivetrain, and that busted, and they put 24-hour epoxy on it, knowing that they were going to have to play their last 3 matches in like 12 hours. And so this is one of the better robots in Pacific Northwest. Great truss robot and phenomenal defense. And they're just driving gingerly around the field, trying to nurse the robot through their last couple matches. And they ended up, making it into the elimination tournament, rightfully so. But I think you're going to see that happen, if it hasn't already, to some of the teams here at championships, that the attrition just on the robots is going to start causing problems, and teams are going to, be nursing their robots through the end.
If we're going to talk about teams not at championships, we at least have to shout out to Pink 233.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting year without them, but they started off the season on the completely opposite end of things. Normally they start the season broken and fix themselves, and this year they started the season working and didn't make it a championship. So Pink, next year, please get back to your regular routine.
Yeah,
we
stop
want to
it with
see
those
what
reveal
championships.
videos, guys.
Yeah.
I
No
hope they
reveal
learned their lesson.
videos. Show up with a robot in pieces and you'll be okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's too bad they didn't make it, but we're going to see it a lot. If you got to win to get in, and there's these many good teams, some ain't going to win. But what about the teams that did make it in? I know that despite Galileo's sort of like more, we'll call it toned down nature, there's somebody who's got to be good here, right?
I think we have a lot. We have a lot in the middle, to say the least. A lot of them I haven't been able to see in person this year. Yeah. A lot of solid teams in the middle. I think I looked at the OPR chart, and kind of down in the middle, where normally it starts to drop off for most division. In Galileo, it actually kind of stays up near the top. So to go through a couple teams, some of the ones that everyone's talking about, 67. Do I need to say anything else? Yeah, pretty much you always pick hot. I don't need to paint a bigger target on their back, but they have a phenomenal robot, great finisher. They put in the high goal. They can trust to the human. I think I saw them at Howe where they were shooting to their human and almost knocking their human player back. And he had to jump way up in the air to catch the ball. They can pick up from either. I think they can only pick up from one side, but they can shoot out from either side. So great finisher.
They can catch from either side though, which I really like, because they have a couple moves I saw where the human player would throw it into their robot and they just turn and fire, and then rinse and repeat.
Yeah, one of their favorite little spots is right in, like if they're on the Red Alliance, right barely into the Red Alliance, the human player throws it in them from behind, they point forward and shoot. They don't even move. I heard about them and 469 doing some practices where 469 was pretty much staying from the inbounder position, trussing to the human player. The human player would throw it in hot, no one would move, and they would just cycle.
It's insane. Blizzard is also in Galileo.
Yep.
188, they're back, and they're back with a vengeance. Finally won their first Canadian event, finalists at the other. Great robot, great team. They're going to do well here. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling Blizzard.
Feeling the
Some
chill.
other ones. So some other ones that I got. Let's see here. Shockwave, young team. It's their second year. 2 district wins. They were the finalists at the district championship for them. Nice simple bot. I think they have a 3-ball, but a reliable 2-ball. Let's see here. 148. The Robo Wranglers with their Vader bot. 2 regional wins. They came out strong and keep improving their robot. So everyone's been talking about them. And then in terms of the OPR preliminary match schedule seeding, determine who's going to seed number 1. It's calculated out to be 3098, which is it's a Michigan team, very fast drivetrain. They only have a single speed 6-sim drive, very fast, great driver. They put in the high goal on the run. So we'll see. We'll see if the preliminary matches and the seeding and OPR stand true. But with this game, I think it can go either way. I could go down the list of other teams. 225. Let's see here, some other big ones.
Techfire is one of those teams out of MAR that not a lot of people outside MAR know them, but they've been on fire this season, and they could surprise a lot of people here at championships.
Yep. I think to represent New England, 558. Also very solid,
Robo Squad.
Yeah, the Robo Squad, very good robot coming out of New England this year.
558 has a slogan, which is "Send it over the truss and then wreak havoc," and that's exactly what they do.
That's Trust and Destroy, I believe.
Yeah,
Yes.
they've got a 6-sim drivetrain, but it's geared for I think somewhere between 10 and 12 feet per second. So they go from 0 to absolute top speed in under 2 seconds. And then they're hitting you in the face like 2 seconds after that. It's great.
Yeah.
Only in New England.
And 179 Swamp Thing.
Yep.
They were having some issues a couple years, but always cool robots, not always the best. They partnered up with Tech Tigers, 1251 this year, built twins, and finalists at one event and winners of another. Coming in with they made some catches with that robot. It's almost a little mini 118. It's awesome robot and green and cool.
What about the?
Sorry, say that again, Clint.
I think it was Alan.
Oh, that was Alan.
973 is another team on Galileo.
Yeah.
They're the first kind of power team with a goalie pole. They won CVR with Cheesy Poofs after being like the 41st or 44th ranked team. But they've been improving their goalie pole. Apparently they can block over the logo now. Should be very interesting.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
How do you
Now,
block
what
over the
about-
logo?
They're
Carefully.
allowed to reach out 20 inches just like you normally have.
Okay.
Go
Now, what
over
about the
20 and
engine
then up with
nerds?
6.
Yep.
What about
Valid.
the engine nerds here? I
And
know. Thank you.
Nothing-
for being-
same.
He doesn't want to talk about his team. You guys had a pretty darn successful season this year.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. I haven't looked at your match schedule. How's it looking, Clint?
We got 3 deltas, like we like to call them. 2 of them are doable, based on OPR. There's one that it's going to take a lot of strategizing with the alliance member. I think the teammate we're with has a OPR of like 1.5. But here in Michigan, with over 100 rookies this season, we were fortunate enough to be able to work with some of those rookies and get them to participate in the 3 assists cycle to ensure that we get the most assist points.
You think you're going to make it back to finals?
I don't know, man. I'm just
you on
like
the spot
everyone
right
else.
now.
I don't like to count my chickens before they hatch, or I have the tendency to knock on wood when stuff says like that. These matches can go either way. You can fall into a situation where you're not playing as alliance. You're not doing the assists. You're going for trusses when you don't need to be doing trusses. We'll see what happens. We've been fortunate this year to have really good alliance members and people to help us rank high and help us be in the positions as we've been all season. It wasn't on our own. It's with the help of the other members.
Well, I'm expecting Engineers to do well. So go out and prove me right, Clint.
I'll try. We'll do our best.
For you,
Oh, yeah,
Evan.
Galileo. Okay. I want to stay on one team really fast. 3310, one of the power teams out of North
Mm.
Texas now. Robot Hawkeye actually uses a crossbow as their shooter. We got to play
Oh
with them
yeah,
at Dallas.
that is
They
such
won
a cool team.
Colorado. They should be able to do some good things on Galileo this year.
I
Wow.
gotta I gotta give a shout out to some another Michigan team. One of my favorite Michigan teams, honestly, 862. They play very smart, very strategic. I see them being kind of maybe a dark horse in the division. They made Einstein last year because they played smart. I see great things coming out of them this weekend as well.
And before we go, there's somebody on this division that we don't talk about yet, but we have in the past, 17-17, right? These guys
The
are the
Penguineers.
Penguineers. These guys, this season, they haven't been as dominant necessarily as they have been in past seasons. But
Still
I'm
won a
actually
regional. Still
still won a
finalists for
regional.
the second.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'd be interested to see if they turn it up for the championship. Actually, I know they will. I'm curious how they will. Is
Yeah.
better way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have an unfortunate history for nicknaming robots, and someone else on my team, we were watching, I was showing them videos of 1717, and they actually nicknamed that robot the Ugly Duckling. And
Oh.
it's, I disagree with it. I think that I think it's a cool looking robot because, if you look at it, how many teams
So
did
many
the
more in the
wheeled
wheels.
how many teams did the wheeled shooter this year, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yep.
notable teams that are actually making it to championship, I can think of, and by wheeled shooter, I mean the arc shooter, like a 2012 shooter. It's like 1717 to 254. And I think that's awesome. I really think that speaks to how great their design methods are and how well they look at the problem and find a way to solve it.
Yeah, and they've definitely had some struggles this year with accuracy and with their shooter a little bit. So I'm looking to see them turn it up at championships for sure. And
They're going to be. I think they're going to be in the eliminations.
Absolutely.
With having 32 teams, they're definitely going to be in there. Like I said, just curious of where they're gonna end up. They could go anywhere.
Yep. One last team I want to give a shout out to 1318 IRS. They were #1 seed at their first 3 events and won their 3rd event with us, 1983. Then went on to district championships, #3 seed, picked 1983 again. Won. They're not as flashy as some of the other teams, but they have an absolute money 2-ball auto. And they hit from that low goal spot. They get there, and the ball is going in. Just great all-around team. And if teams aren't paying attention, they could really burn somebody in eliminations by sneaking onto a good alliance if they're not in the top 8. So they were really good back in 2009. Had some off years. IRS is back, and so excited to see some more Pacific Northwest teams tear it up.
Yeah, they could definitely be a steal of a pick for somebody. And they are very consistent. That's one thing and this will be their 5th event.
Yeah.
And that robot so far, it's doing pretty good. Still hanging around.
Stout, very stout.
Stout. I like that adjective.
All right, last call for anything else before we call it a night.
Shout out to Team Swag because they got swag.
Got swag. All right. Okay, well, it's been an awesome 2-part episode again. Thanks for everybody that stuck around the whole time. And to everybody for watching, especially if you're watching recorded. Thanks for sticking around and making it all the way to the end. Congratulations. It is the end. You have made it. So a few announcements before we head off for the night. We will be doing a championships recap show. It's going to be Friday, yet another special day, not our normal day, but it's going to be the Friday after championships, so May 2nd, at our normal time, I believe. Even though it's not in my notes, I believe it'll be 5 p.m. Pacific.
5 p.m. Pacific.
Yep. So remember that Friday, May 2nd, after championships, we'll be talking about what went down at championships, what we saw, debriefing probably all the divisions. So look forward to that. We're excited to do that. Like I mentioned before, most of us will be at championships, so come and say hi. Tell us if you like the show. Give us some comments, suggestions. We might have some special things to hand out if you come find us. So, yeah, come find us at championships. We'd love to see you, meet you, hear from you. Um,
I
also,
also
go ahead.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I want to mention we got a little bit of a secret project going on. Can't say too much about it, but we are going to be doing some filming at championships. So if you do come and say hi, you might make your way into a video. So stay tuned for that.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. You definitely want to be in the video. So, yes. With that, we have an EWCP draft show tomorrow that our RoboWeather team is participating in. They're drafting alliances for all the divisions and participating in a little competition over there. So that's tomorrow night. I bet that Naveed will post some information in the chat for you if he has that ready. We also have another survey. If you guys
Hooray.
have been weekly followers since the first couple of weeks, we did a survey a few weeks ago. We'd like to do another one to see how you guys are liking the show, how you guys are liking some of the changes that we implemented after our last survey, and get some feedback before we start preparing for next season. So Naveed will post that in the chat for you, and it will be underneath the YouTube video recording. So those of you that are watching recorded, please fill out that survey. It will be live. Yes, it will be live through the end of the next show at least. We want to get as much feedback as possible. And finally, we are going to be doing some off-season videos other than the super secret project we're filming at championships. We're going to be doing some fun off-season video series stuff. And we're talking about doing... Does anybody want to talk about that?
Sure,
Explain what we're
I'll
talking
mention
about
it.
doing? Yeah.
We're looking at doing a kind of an FRC history series and going back and pulling out some interesting nuggets from just the annals, the archive of FRC, all the way back to 1998 and the number freeze, some of the dominant performances like Beatty 71 in 2002, and trying to pull some resources and information of that. So stay tuned. We're going to have some fun. And some more content in the off season.
Yeah, so thank you guys for a great season. It's been awesome. Please join us for our post-championship show, but this will conclude our normal season shows. We really appreciate your guys' support. We really want to thank Tom, Nathan, Clint, and Alan for joining us tonight. You guys were awesome.
Yeah.
Hey,
Thank
thanks
you
for
so
having
much for coming.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. We also want to thank Julie from 1983. Her continued support with the graphics and overlays has been awesome. The special championship overlay that you see now, she even just sent us. We didn't even request it, so she's been super awesome. Dave has been running our overlays and doing an awesome job in transitioning, and there's been such huge improvements since he's taken that over, so that's been great. Thanks to Naveed for handling the chat moderation and keeping you guys entertained in the chat, I'm sure. And especially to you guys for watching. Please continue to send us emails, questions, comments, Facebook messages, tweets. We really value your interaction and your support, and we hope it continues even in the off-season. So, with that, we're done. We'll see you guys at championships, so let's go play robots.
Bye, everybody. Good
Everybody
luck.
So
travel
excited.
safe.
Yeah.